Hello out there, my name's Kraken, and welcome to actually a tutorial, which is not what I usually do. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this in DaVinci Resolve version 16. So, what you're going to start up wanting to do is just get out the cut into the edit, and under the effects library, you want to go down to effects, and you want to add a fusion composition. Now, this fusion composition, you have to decide how long you want your transition to be. Now, just for the ease of a tutorial, I'm going to make it very long. In this case, I'm going to try and make it 5 minutes, and if it's not exactly 5 minutes, I'm going to lose my sanity. Here you go. Exactly 5 minutes. So, now that we got that, we want to go into Fusion, and let it load. Now we have our media out. This is what we're going to see. This is what we're going to get. Now, in all of this, I am most likely going to use too many merges. Thing is, though, it works. So that's what we're going with. Now, what you need is a background, which you saw me drag down, and a merge node, just to begin with. You can put those together so that you actually have something to see. Now here we see that it is totally black. We actually don't want that. We want it to be transparent. So we go here, take the or down here for that matter, take the alpha, turn it to 0, and then we can click on it, press F2 in Windows. I think you can do it on Mac as well. I'm not familiar with that. And then we can name it background underscore transparent. That doesn't fit in there, but just so that we know what it is. Okay. So from here on out, I will call this merge left, because it's on the left, and I will add in another merge, and I will call it right, so that we can get everything in that we need from the left to right. In that case, I will also make a merge that is door. And that merge, I will be adding on to, or for that, onto that merge, I will be adding a door underscore back. And then I will be adding another one that gives me door underscore front. And here we go. We're starting to get stuff set up. Now, this isn't the only thing that we need to incorporate into this, because we need, I would imagine that you would want, oh, sorry, you would want something like a logo on it, because logos are neat, right? So for that, also, let's just want to add in the logo, so we just pull it in from our media pool, and I assume that you already know how to put media into your media pool. If you don't, you literally just click whatever file you want and drag it into the media pool, either under cut or media or edit or fusion. It really doesn't matter. As long as you can see the media pool, you can just click, drag it in, drop it there, and you'll have it in your media pool. Should be easy enough. So what I want to do here is I actually want to add it in here. And I actually also want to put in a mask, a rectangle mask, which we saw here, in order to limit it. Because what I'm then going to do is that I'm going to remove half. But you're going to see why I'm doing that later. if I can center it back again. Boom, there you go. Just double click on center and it should reset it goes for everything else. It would double click the text and it will set it back to default. So yeah, that is what I am going to do. So I'm actually going to center this as x1. The same goes for this merge. I'm going to put it at x1. There you go. And then I'm gonna remove gonna fix it later, because this background, of course, we want to only go halfway, so that will be at 0. Now, I can imagine that you would want to tilt the background a little bit. So for that, we do this. The tilt, how much you tilt it doesn't really matter, just as long as you make sure. If we do, that's not what I wanted. Do 12. Just know that you might need to re-angle the y coordinate. For some reason it does that. So if we put that to 1, we'll put it all the way up. If we just put it to 0.5, it will look a bit weird, but we can actually pull it up, and then we can make it bigger. So what we can do is that we can size it. But whenever we size it, it also means that we have to pull it back even further. But anyway, we actually have a thing that can fill out the entire thing now. Or fill out the entire screen. And we know that the middle is somewhere here. But it's not exactly like it's the most important thing. Also, we have the secondary here for the door, and you'll be able to see that once I do something like this. You can see there are 2 different layers. So I'm going to put something purple on this because that goes with me. Maybe a little bit brighter. And then the door in the back, I'm going to set to a gray tone. Very dark gray. Now, for all of this, there is one more thing that I actually want to add, which is actually a copy, and I'm just going to Control Z, Control C for this. And I'm just saying that or copy paste, I should say. Just going to put that in here because I want it to be the same color as the background. So what I then want to do is I'm just going to say circle. I'm going to put that onto the green node, put in the foreground, and then I'm going to put in a, nope, I'm going to put in a eclipse mask onto that. And I can actually move it over like this just to have a little bit more compact. Now, of course, this one will go by itself as you're moving it. It won't overextend anything. It will stay right here. It won't go out and above the other one, like this one does, because this, for some reason, this your logo won't adhere to the laws of your merge, which is annoying, but here we go. Here's how to fix it. So we take the rectangle, we then move it back, zoom all the way in. We can actually use it here. And then we move this back until it stops right at the end. It doesn't matter if it overextends it a little bit, as long as it stops after, or you have a little bit of residual going on here. Because if it stops abruptly, you will have a gray line going down everything, and you don't want that. Trust me, you don't. So yeah. It's like that. It's a bit slanted. You could move it back again if you want to do that by literally just saying 12 degrees, because we said minus 12, so we can just say 12 here. It'll look weird on this part because everything is turned, but it'll solve it right up. I actually quite like that it's turned a little bit, so that does not bother me. Now we have this little outline here, which is actually not getting covered. So what you then want to do to remove this purple line going through, if you do experience having that, this little purple line, which is rather annoying, is that you want to click on your little merge to here that we didn't really rename. We want to zoom all the way in, make sure that we get everything, and then move it just a slight bit. Boom. There you go. So now the foreground, I do believe it's called, yes, merge to foreground. The foreground of this is moved a little bit further ahead of the background, so we won't end up getting those. So now we can actually move and adjust the circle to our liking, and we won't get that annoying little bit. So yeah, that is one side, and whenever you have one side, you literally just take everything. Oh, and by the way, for the zoom, I hold control and then I use the scroll wheel, just in case you didn't know. And we control C it all. Now, of course, this will end up in a giant mess of everything at once, which is not what we want, of course. So, what we want to do at this point is actually we want to take this merge, move it back. We want to turn it in the opposite way, or actually, I do believe it is the same way, so minus 12 again. Yes, exactly. I want to use this. So this is, we have our left here, so we want to use the same scale, which is 1.38. 1.38. There you go. We want to use the same y coordinate, which is this jumbled mess of things. So we just go back and forth and copy paste everything. Do you want that to be opposite? I mean, luckily for all of this, if the things doesn't fit together, you can just move them up and down, and they will go in a straight line. They won't be curved or anything. They will go down in a straight line, which helps this purpose tremendously. But obviously, what we want to do here is actually turning this 180. Boom. And then turning it an extra 12. So that would be 192. Oh, in the other direction. My bad. 78. That was just 2. My bad. Okay, 68. There we go. So now that has been turned, we do want to turn the image as well. So for that, we can put on a transform, which is very useful here. Boom. And again, we want to turn that a full 180. Boom. So we have a bit of extra stuff on the other one. And we can move and adjust this to our liking. Of course, we will get a little bit of issues with all this, which is where the lovely eclipse comes in. Let's move this one out. Use this here transform to fix. Actually, let's move this a little bit closer so we don't get this line, so we actually see that everything is okay. To get closer, get a bit more smooth. There you go. Let's take this transform, move it up slightly, and here's the hard part, because you really need to line this up. There you go. Nice. If you do end up if you end up getting a line through here, or you end up getting a little bit of tearing like this, or anything else, you can move. And I would recommend doing this on the right if you do it exactly like I have, because you might end up getting something a little bit like this through everything, which is a bit of an issue. So what you want to do is actually just pull this out until that disappears, because in the grand scheme of things, it shouldn't really be that noticeable. And then you go to the transform down here to line it up perfectly, so that whenever you zoom out and you actually fit it to everything, it basically looks seamless, and you just have your name cut in half, but no one knows yet, because it's like that. The circle or the ellipse here is a bit trickier to get a hold of. However, it is doable. In the grand scheme of things, this is so easy to edit that you can tweak it to your liking. Now to the hard part of all this. So what we want to do is that we want to go to the end here. And what you'll see is that you will get one frame less, because that's the last frame that it counts, because it's an indentation of 0. So you have 0 and then up to 119, which means that you have 120 frames. So that means that the middle frame is 60. 120 divided by 2 is 60. Quick maths. So this is where we actually want this to happen. We want this to happen at 60 frames. Or we might actually want this to stay on for a little bit. So what I usually do is that I put it on at like 5 or 10 frames before that. And then I say, boom, that's where I want my center currently at this frame. And I want the same thing to happen here at 70. So I have 20 frames in total, I do believe, where it is at this. It's right there for 20 frames. And of course, that's a very long time. You can make it shorter if you want to. Right now, this is just for whenever we play it. It goes a lot easier. So we want to do the exact same for the right one. Boom, at 50, and a keyframe at 70. So we go to frame 0. And here, of course, we want... Can I move it up and down? No, okay. Of course, here we want it to be outside of everything. And we want the same thing to happen at the end. We want it to open up and close. Now, we can do the exact same thing for this one. And we go back to frame 0, move it back, line it up as best we can. Doesn't have to be entirely perfect as long as it's outside of this. You can line it up however you want. All right, let's see what we got. Let's let's look at what we have so far. Not too shabby, not too shabby. I mean, so far, I think it looks good. It's a little bit slow, but I mean, you can change the speeds. And for now, what I want to do is that I want to get these things right. Here are the splines, and you find them up here in the spline. And then you see the different keyframes that we have. All I want to do is nothing fancy, nothing big. I just want to mark everything for both. Boom. And click F. Just want to mark everything and then click F. So that way we get a smooth... I mean, it's not really the fanciest of transitions, but it's nice. And if you can make it a little bit faster, or if you do make it faster, then that definitely will put a little bit extra. It also will make the sound that I have to put on a lot more interesting. Now, for this next part, which, I mean, technically you're done this is a transition. You can go straight to the deliver tab and get it out. But I want to do a little bit extra. I want to do a little bit of an extra thing. So what we have here is that we actually have these. Okay, so we have these big purple panels over here. So what I actually want to do is, again, make sure that at 50 frames, again, I have the correct position so that it is all good. So here, before the opening, we pull it back a bit. There you go. And here, at the closing, we also just pull it back a bit. So that whenever this part now is going to be opening and closing. So if we make this fit real quick. Here we go. And let it render. All right, so let's look at what we have. There you go. And you can see how this one comes in and out. There's something extra to it. This moves as well. It has a bit of an extra to it. Which, if you ask me, is nice. See, it moves, and again, we can go in on the splines, and we can add this to the door. We need all of them. Also, and by the way, by moving it like this, I am clicking down on the middle mouse button. And again, I want to click F. That goes in and out. It's a lot smoother. It's not so hard. Goes faster. Or it smooths into the transition rather than just being like straight onto it. So after having done that, what we then want to do is just literally just add it to the other side. So we have the door here. We want to go back, or actually to the center, or where we want it. Boink, we want that there, and that's 70. Boink, we want that there. Back to 0. We want to pull it back a little bit. And as you can see, I'm actually looking at the other merge, so I can kind of match how far back it is. So it looks somewhat similar. So here we have the same thing, and I will be moving that back somewhat to match. Here you go. And let's see how the final one is. Nice. Personally, I do like it. It seems like it snaps a little bit. Again, at faster speeds, this is way better. Or it usually looks way better. It's only so slow right now because of the nature of a tutorial, so it's easier to look at. Now that you have your transition, you also know where you want your sound to be. So what I usually do is that I go back to the edit scene and then I add my sound. And I usually want it to be at the opening frame, which is here. So that's where I want my main sound to be. So if I do that, of course the sound doesn't play right because I have it at the wrong playback setting. It is looking a bit weird. So here we go again. And the sound is, of course, made for a much faster clip, which I understand. This is all just for the purpose of a tutorial. Now, if you want sound, if you don't want sound, this doesn't matter. Just ignore this. But if you do want sound, you have to export it with transparency and everything. What you then have to do is actually mark these two and make it into a new compound clip. Doesn't matter the name, but you just need to make it into one clip. So now you have everything as just one clip. It needs to render that, but it doesn't really matter. And then what you need to do whenever you go to deliver this thing is you need to go into individual clips. You need to tick off the QuickTime format. You want to go to GoPro Cineform, RGB 16. When I use anything, I usually recommend, this is not required, but if you have an obscure resolution, just click at render as source resolution. I mean, of course, what we have, you can see in the Fusion tab that it is, if we scroll out, you can see it is 1920 at 1080. So that's fine. It doesn't really change anything. It's just to make sure. And then you want to make sure you have export alpha. Pre-multiplied or straight, doesn't matter. Not to my experience anyway, but that's it. Then we want to add it to our render queue. And just get it rendering. I'm just going to put it on my desktop real quick, just for the sake of it, and I'll render. And that is it. You can now import this into OBS as a stinger transition. Hope it's been informative. Hope I didn't jumble up everything too much and I made stuff confusing. If I did, I'm sorry. Please do say it in the comments. And if you have any questions, do bring them along, and we'll try and see if I can explain stuff for you. If I can't, I'm sorry. If I can, it's great. But yeah, hope to see you in the next video.